That voice in your head that turns every conversation into a courtroom drama where you're both the prosecutor and the defendant. What if I told you there's actually a completely different channel playing right now? You just forgot how to tune in. This lesson teaches that there's always an alternative perspective available to the one you're currently experiencing, both about external situations and your inner thoughts. It's about recognizing that your current way of seeing isn't the only way. And you can actually choose to shift your perception when life feels overwhelming or disturbing. We've all been there. You're sitting in traffic, already 15 minutes late for a meeting that could determine your promotion. Your mind starts the familiar spiral. They'll think I'm unreliable. This always happens to me. I should have left earlier. My career is probably over. Your chest tightens. Your jaw clenches. And you're rehearsing apologies and excuses. The radio in your car is playing some upbeat song, but the radio in your mind, it's broadcasting disaster on all frequencies. Your mind is like a radio that's been stuck on one station for so long you forgot other frequencies exist. You've been listening to the same dramatic talk show, full of problems, complaints, and worst-case scenarios, thinking that's all there is. But with just a slight adjustment of the dial, you can tune into something completely different, the same information, but from an entirely different perspective. Here's what we don't realize. The distress we feel isn't coming from the traffic or the late arrival. It's coming from the story we're telling ourselves about what it means. We're not upset about facts, we're upset about interpretations. And interpretations, those are just thoughts. Thoughts we've gotten so used to believing that we've forgotten they're optional. Think about the last time something relatively minor sent you into a tailspin. Maybe your partner used a certain tone of voice. Maybe a colleague didn't respond to your email. Maybe you made a small mistake at work. Notice how quickly your mind took that tiny piece of data and constructed an entire narrative around it. They're angry with me, I'm being ignored, I'm incompetent. But here's the thing, you're not actually responding to what happened. You're responding to the broadcast in your head about what happened. And that broadcast, it's been playing the same program for years. The "everything is wrong and it's probably your fault" show, streaming 24/7 in high definition. Back in that traffic, as you grip the steering wheel tighter, your mind is doing what minds do when they're stuck on one frequency, amplifying the signal. The meeting becomes your entire career. The lateness becomes your entire character. The traffic becomes proof that the universe is against you. The volume keeps getting turned up, and you can't find the off switch. But then something shifts. Maybe it's exhaustion from the mental gymnastics. Maybe it's a moment of clarity. You remember, there's another way to look at this. Not positive thinking, not pretending the traffic isn't there or that being late doesn't matter. Just another frequency. Another way of receiving the same information. What if this delay is actually giving you time to arrive more centered? What if your worth isn't determined by perfect punctuality? What if the people in that meeting are human too and understand that traffic happens? Suddenly, you notice your hands have loosened on the wheel. Your breathing has deepened. The traffic hasn't moved an inch. But something fundamental has shifted. You're still tuned into reality. You're still late. The meeting still matters, but you're not listening to the catastrophe channel anymore. This is the moment you realize you've been arguing with a story you wrote, not with what actually occurred. The traffic is just traffic. The meeting is just a meeting. But your mind has been writing a tragedy when it could have been writing, well, anything else. The relief that comes from this recognition is immediate and profound, not because anything external has changed, but because you've remembered something crucial. You're not trapped in one interpretation. You never were. You just forgot how to change the channel. Think about how many times a day you get locked into one way of seeing things. Your friend cancels plans. They must not value your friendship. Your boss seems distracted. You must have done something wrong. You make a mistake. You're a failure. Channel after channel of the same programming. Fear. Judgment. Worst case scenarios. But what if, in each of these moments, you could pause and remember, there's another way to look at this. Not denial, not toxic positivity, just another frequency available for tuning in. Your friend might be overwhelmed and needs space. Your boss might be dealing with their own challenges. Your mistake might be a normal part of learning. Same facts, completely different broadcast. The practice isn't about finding the right interpretation. It's about loosening your death grip on the one you're currently holding. It's about remembering that perception is flexible, that thoughts are just thoughts, and that you have more options than your mind wants you to believe. Back in that car, still in traffic, something has fundamentally changed. You're not frantically rehearsing excuses anymore. You're not catastrophizing about your career. You're just sitting in traffic, present, aware, maybe even slightly amused at how worked up you were getting. When you finally arrive at the meeting, 20 minutes late, you walk in calmly. You apologize simply, without the elaborate story your mind had prepared. And you know what? The meeting proceeds. Life continues. The catastrophe never materializes because it was never real to begin with. It was just one channel's interpretation of events. This is what becomes possible when you remember there's another way of looking at the world. Not just the external world, the traffic, the meetings, the daily frustrations, but your inner world too. All those thoughts that feel so solid, so true, so urgent. They're just one frequency, one broadcast, one option among many. The question isn't whether challenges will arise. They will. The question is, will you remember that you're not locked into one way of seeing them? Will you remember that in any moment of distress, there's another channel available? Your mind might resist this at first. It's been tuned to the disaster channel for so long that it's become comfortable with the familiar programming. But with practice, with gentle persistence, you start to recognize the signs of being stuck on one station. The tightness in your chest, the spiraling thoughts, the rehearsed arguments, and in that recognition, you find the dial. You don't have to believe the new perspective. You don't have to force positivity. You just have to remember, there's another way to look at this. And in that remembering, the grip of distress loosens, not because you've solved anything, but because you've remembered you're not trapped. This is the gift waiting for you in any moment of struggle. The recognition that your current perspective is just one option. Your suffering is real, but it's not mandatory. Your interpretation feels true, but it's not the only truth available. There's another way of looking at the world, and the moment you remember that, you're already beginning to tune in. If you want to keep practicing with us, you can like the video and subscribe. Let's take a moment now to let this settle with a guided meditation. Let yourself settle into this moment. There's nowhere else you need to be right now. Nothing else you need to figure out. Allow your body to find its own comfort. Let your breathing become natural. Easy. No effort required. Notice whatever is present for you right now. Maybe there's tension somewhere. Maybe thoughts are still moving. That's perfectly fine. We're not trying to change anything. Just notice how you're looking at this moment. Notice the lens through which you're experiencing right now. Feel how your mind wants to evaluate, to judge, to decide if you're doing this right. That's just one channel playing. One way of looking. Let yourself become curious. What if there's another way to experience this very same moment? Not better or worse. Just different. Feel the space around your thoughts, the quiet between the words. There's room here. Room for different perspectives to exist. If you notice tension, see if there's another way to be with it. Not fighting, not fixing. Just being with. If thoughts arise about your day, your life, your concerns, remember, these are broadcasts. You can listen without believing. You can hear without agreeing. Rest in this recognition. You're not trapped in any single way of seeing. Not now. Not ever. Let yourself float in this spaciousness for a moment. No radio to tune. No channel to find. Just this gentle awareness that there are always options. When you're ready, let your awareness expand again. Feel the space around you. Hear the sounds of life continuing. You can carry this with you, this remembering. In any moment of tightness or distress, the dial is always there. Another way of looking is always available. Take your time returning. There's no rush. You know how to find this space again. Thank you for being here and practicing together. If you'd like, you can find a free digital ACIM resource in the description. And if you want to mark the moment, a simple comment such as, "I am grateful," is welcome. Thank you for taking this time to explore a different frequency with us today. As you move back into your day, remember, that dial is always within reach. When life feels heavy or thoughts feel solid, you can pause and ask, is there another way to look at this? Be gentle with yourself as you practice. The channels will change when you're ready. Until next time, thank you for being here.